Now, before I start the video, I have one simple question. Is the Pixel 6a worth buying, even though the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro are around the same price? And this is a question that really had me thinking, because the Pixel 6a is a phenomenal phone that has really come a long way. It's held up extremely well since when I first got it, and not only does it do that, but it also outperforms every other phone in its price range. The Pixel 6a has a very powerful Tensor chip that is strong enough to handle any app smoothly. It has an amazing battery life that was able to last me for most of the day. It has a beautiful display that not only looks great when using it, but is also very comparable to its heavy-hitting counterpart, the Pixel 7. And it has a really good software that's smooth and will keep you locked in because it's so easy to use. And even though there are many great things about the Pixel 6a, just like every other phone out there, it's not perfect and has given me some minor problems. And even though there are many great things to be said about the Pixel 6a, just like every other phone, it's not perfect and has given me some problems. And as far as my problems with the 6a, the phone would get a little laggy, the fingerprint sensor was pretty mid, and honestly, the charging wasn't the fastest. And even though it has its minor problems, I do believe that there are many people out there who will like the Pixel 6a, and hopefully this video will help you decide whether or not it's right for you. But before I do that, I want to give a special shout out to my partner, Aura. Now, Aura is an easy to use app that includes everything that you need to stay safe online. Aura protects you from scammers and hackers by scanning the so-called dark web, where criminals sell stolen information looking for emails, passwords, and social security numbers. Aura alerts you very fast if it finds anything. Aura also let me know that my information was on its way to the dark web, and this is why apps like Aura are important to me. It keeps my info safe and secure while adding extra features that other services don't have. They help you fight back against those annoying websites that make your personal information public by automatically requesting removal of your info, and this even helps reduce robocalls. Or it gives you real-time alerts on suspicious credit inquiries, like if someone is opening a credit card or a loan in your name. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. And they protect your devices from malware, spyware, viruses, and more. Or it can even help you manage what your kids do on their devices. You can restrict specific apps, set screen time limits, and even set focus times to ensure that your child is doing their homework instead of binging YouTube. And the password manager lets you store and access your online passwords securely and conveniently. And maybe you already have an app that does one of these things, but with Aura, you don't have to download and pay for 7 separate apps. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. And if you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link. And just like me, you'll be shocked at how much of your private information Aura finds exposed over those 2 weeks. Go to aura.com/Nasim to start your free trial. And again, I wanted to thank Aura for protecting my info and sponsoring today's video. Now, starting with design, the Pixel 6a has that same exact look as the Pixel 6 and 7, but if you actually look at it, it's actually an upgrade in look since the 5a looked completely different. But besides that, the design is really good and reliable, so I'm very happy that Google is letting people know what a Pixel phone looks like all across the board. Now, structure-wise, it looks the exact same as the Pixel 6 from the power button all the way down to the speakers, USB-C port, and the back. And also looking at its color, the version that I have is Sage, and this is easily my favorite color that's been released for the 6a. It has the black plasticky sides along with a glassy feeling back that gives it that right amount of depth and results in a really good looking device. Now, looking at display, the Pixel 6a has a 6.1-inch OLED display that for the price you're paying looks really good. Whenever I'm scrolling through my phone, it looked very nice, everything looked good, the responsiveness was very precise, and I basically had no complaints about the overall feel. The display is 1080p, but it still looks amazing. Now, the Pixel 6a has a 60 Hz refresh rate. I remember when it first came out, a lot of people were complaining, but I think that the 60 Hz is great for the price, and I was really happy that it was still smooth after a couple months of use. Now, the 60 Hz is also an added benefit because it does help preserve battery life. It's also really smooth, and I feel like the people who are buying this phone don't really care about refresh rates, so it's really not that important. Now, coming back to the display, the bezels are pretty small. Right here, you can see that they're wrapped nicely around the screen and are much cleaner overall. The hole punch camera is also very small, so it won't bother you whenever you're using your phone. And now when it comes to brightness, the Pixel 6a is at 785 nits, which is below average for whenever you're using your phone outside. And no matter how much the sun was shining, I still struggled to see what was going on, and it wasn't my favorite phone to use when I was outside. Now, when it comes to the size of the Pixel 6a, I can't tell you guys whether or not you will love it or hate it, but I do want to list some pros and cons that you could look out for. Now, the pros of having a regular size screen is that the viewing experience is still pretty good. It's very easy to use with one hand and it fits better in your pocket. But the cons of having a regular size phone is that the battery will be smaller than bigger phones and it's not as good when it comes to the viewing experience, but 6.1 inches isn't small, so there really aren't any true cons. But again, I wanted to let you guys outweigh the pros and cons because everyone's needs are different. Now the responsiveness still holds up very well after a couple months of use, but something that I noticed is that it will be random times where my phone became unresponsive, and this only happened about once every 3 to 2 weeks, so it wasn't that big of a problem for me. Now the resolution and viewing experience of the Pixel 6a's display is an amazing benefit when it comes to watching content. It was only 1080p, but it doesn't look bad in person. I was able to see everything very clearly when watching videos, playing games when it was as fun as ever, and I wanted to give you guys an idea of what it would look like when watching something and playing a game. Next I did some dribbling to finish off my warm-up. And for the final part of my workout, I got a ton of shots up. Now the Pixel 6a has a 4400 mAh battery that, just like the Pixel 6, was able to last me for most of the day. And when I was using my 6a, I was doing things like texting my friends, scrolling on social media, playing games, and many other things that the average person would do on their phone. And I'm usually getting over 4 hours of on-screen time a day, and I charge my phone twice a day, once right before I go to bed, and also a full charge on my portable charger. Most of the time I did use it to the max, and it was still able to perform very good. So if you do get the 6a, the battery won't be an issue. And if I could give you guys a quick estimate, I would say that my battery is usually on 30% by the end of the day, which is really good. But again, this is with help since I use my portable charger. Now the last thing that I wanted to touch on when it came to battery was the charging. I used a regular 20-watt charger, and my phone was able to charge from 0 to 100% in a little over an hour, which honestly wasn't that bad for the price that I paid. Now looking at software, the Pixel 6a supports Android 13, and just like on any other Android, you have the app drawer that holds and categorizes all your apps. You have the new wallpaper system that is a huge upgrade and feels much smoother on this phone, and you have many more minor things that makes the phone feel even sleeker. And Google phones are typically very sharp when it comes to optimizing software, so I'm not really surprised when I say that the 6a handled Android 13 very well. Now the software was very smooth and worked very well. It felt just like the Pixel 7, and I feel like most of you guys will realize that in terms of software, it's really not that much different from other models. I also decided to test out some games on my Pixel 6a. I play Asphalt 9, which is a game that can really test out the chip, and as you can see, it holds up very well, and I didn't get any lags while playing. Now the haptics weren't that great if I'm being honest. There were many times where I would have my phone on vibrate, but would miss out on some messages because I couldn't hear it. So overall, I would say that they're a downgrade from last year. Now the final thing that I want to note is that the 6a will be getting 5 years worth of software upgrades. So when it comes to longevity, it has definitely got you covered. Now just like the Pixel 7, the 6a has some lower tier speakers that weren't that loud whenever I used them. I would usually use them in the house whenever watching videos on social media or YouTube, and I basically would have to turn it all the way up because I had an issue hearing. I also tested out how they sounded when playing music, and if I'm being honest, they're not the loudest, and when you do turn it all the way up, the quality isn't the greatest when it gets to the max. I also tested out the 6a as my alarm, and I had some problems waking up to it. So what I did was I set multiple alarms, you know, around like 5 or 6, and I would usually miss the first one, but I also wanted extra backup. So if you do get the Pixel 6a, it's really good to set multiple alarms and make sure you're wearing your headphones because the outside speakers aren't that good. Now the Pixel 6a has a 12 megapixel main camera along with an 8 megapixel selfie camera and a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and based on my usage over the past couple of months, I would say that the pictures still look really good. Now starting with zoom modes, the 6a has ultra wide, and of course the quality gets dumbed down a bit once you activate ultra wide, but I found it to still look really good and hold up very well. The shutter speed has gotten much better, but there's still room for improvement. I decided to test this out by shooting a moving car, and as you can see right here, the camera was able to capture most cars no matter how fast they were going, so I was pretty satisfied. Next up, I wanted to show you guys how the camera performed in different environments, and the first environment that I will be starting with is daytime. Now looking at the outside photos, we can see that they have a really great shadow of depth whenever I'm taking pictures of myself, along with a nice blur, and this is scaled all the way up once I use portrait mode. I also took some photos of random street objects, the sky, different aspects of nature, and I can honestly say that the Pixel 6a held up very well in these environments, and I'm really impressed. Even in tougher settings, I would pretty much say that everything looked good, but the only complaint that I have is that there's a little bit more grain. Now taking Taking a look at inside photos, the 6A was able to capture everything very nice, and I found the pictures to be slightly more detailed than the 5A in terms of sharpness. Even when taking selfies, you can see how the camera handles already good lighting to produce an overall nicely taken photo. My skin tone looked really good, and the sharpness was at its peak. And now when it comes to shooting video, the Pixel 6a is easily one of the best phones that you can buy in this price range. In terms of resolution, you have 720p all the way up until 4K, and as far as frame rates, you have 24, 30, and 60. So here's the final question. Is the Pixel 6a worth buying? Well, I honestly would say that the Pixel 6a is a really good phone for its price, but the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro are around the same price, so it's not really worth it. Now, maybe if the 6 and 6 Pro were much more expensive, I would recommend the 6A. But again, the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro have better refresh rates. They have more power, a better camera, etc. So again, the 6A is great, but you can also get other phones. But if you are someone who does prefer the 6A, it's definitely a phone that you'll be satisfied with. But again, you can get an even better Pixel. But there it is, you guys, my review on the Pixel 6a. And also, if you have any other questions for me, you can let me know down in the comment section, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Peace.